All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Brothers BS. I am here with Evan, and we are going to be discussing another Harry Potter episode. This is going to be on the second book. We've decided to do the format a little bit differently. We decided to go chapter by chapter. My wife had that idea. Evan had that idea. I apparently didn't. I'm not the smart one. So that is what we are going to be discussing today. So sit back and join the conversation on the Brothers BS. All right. So before we get started, of course, talking about the book, we will catch up a little bit and do a little bit of a prompt. Today is going to be what's a movie that you are excited to show other people. I don't know if you're the same as me, but sometimes there's movies that I like so much that when I show somebody else, I sit and watch them more than I watch the movie. It's like you better get that reaction that I expect. So I am Zach, and my movie is Lucky Number 11.
That's a good one.
I very much enjoyed that one and sharing that with other people.
Okay. I'm Evan, and this one's really hard for me. I love to show people Extraction with Chris Hemsworth. It's a Netflix movie. It's incredible. One of my favorite action movies of all times.
You can share that with me because I've never seen it.
Oh, and part 2 is just as
Oh, Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I've seen Extraction.
Oh,
For some reason,
so
I was
good.
thinking Chris Pratt, and I was thinking you said Amazon. I know exactly
say
Extraction.
any of those things.
I have no clue. I zoned out. I don't listen to you. But yeah, that's got like a 15-minute one take or something like that.
yeah, it's
Crazy.
incredible.
Very, very good filmmaking. Yes.
fight choreography.
Very good. I've not seen the second one. Is it good?
It's as good as the first one.
Worth a
That's
watch?
so John Wick's my other favorite action
The first
movie.
one. Other
Only
than
the
that,
first
yeah.
one, yeah. Because 2, 3, they just got worse or more unbelievable. I mean, none
The
of them are
first one's not believable,
yeah.
but it's like, oh, people who actually understand firearms are making a
Yeah.
movie. That's wonderful,
Yeah.
you know.
Extraction stays very good through both of them, and they're supposed to make a third one. I'd love to see them do it.
Yeah, there's a couple actors that I kind of hate, and I'll probably get some hate for this, but there's a couple actors that I hate kind of wasted so much time in Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And Hemsworth is one of those. I think he's a better actor than most of the ones that were in there too. But you got Robert Downey Jr., who is one of the greatest actors of
yeah.
all time, and not to say that he wasn't amazing as Tony Stark.
But
But
what else could he have
He's
brought out?
so good
Yeah.
that he kind of wasted all those years on those Marvel movies where he played the same character instead of giving other characters that he could play.
Yeah, he had-
And I think Hemsworth is another one that, of course, I can't imagine that if I was an actor and they offered me a Marvel part, I'd be like, you better believe it.
40 million what? Yeah, okay.
You'll pay to get me in shape? Sure.
Yeah, sure. Personal trainers.
So, yeah, I have to go and watch the second one because I really did enjoy the first Extraction. So yeah. All right, so we are going to be discussing the Chamber of Secrets, which for a long time was my least favorite movie other than Goblet of Fire. Goblet of Fire, from the second I watched it, I didn't enjoy it. But Chamber of Secrets, to me, when I was before I really enjoyed the Harry Potter movies, I was like, it kind of seemed even more like it didn't really know what it wanted to be because it was a little bit more mature, but it still kind of felt like a kid's movie. Going back and watching it now, I really enjoy it still. But the book, I think, is probably, and I messaged you when I was listening to the full cast audio, and I told you that it's not my favorite book, but it's probably my favorite book to revisit. So if that makes any sense, I think Order of the Phoenix is still my favorite, but I could probably go back and listen to this one more often than listening to Order of
It's
the
less
Phoenix.
heavy.
Yeah.
For sure.
I just really enjoy a lot of parts of this. So we'll go ahead and start with chapter 1, which is the worst birthday. So Harry has been home for the most of the summer. It is currently his birthday, and he's not heard from Ron or Hermione or Hagrid or anybody from Hogwarts after they promised that they would write. And so he's kind of feeling down on himself. This is also when we learn that Dudley is going to Smeltings. Is that right?
Academy, yeah.
And so the Dursleys are being Dursley-ish as usual, but the difference now is they're kind of scared of Harry because they don't realize that there's a ban on underage sorcery. And so they think at any moment he could hex them. And so I've got the illustrated version, by the way, and I might see if I can take some screenshots or something and put them up as we discuss some of this stuff. So not a whole lot happens in this, except for they discuss, of course, the Masons coming to visit, who Uncle Vernon is
Gonna sell some drills to.
sell some drills to. He's basically, this is like the retirement sale that he's about to make. And so he's just preparing for everything and goes over everything. One of my favorite parts of this chapter is when he's going over, and what do you say, Petunia? And Petunia tells what, and Dudley, what do you say? And then he goes to Harry, and Harry keeps saying, I'm going to be upstairs pretending I'm not here.
I don't exist. Making no noise and pretending I don't exist.
I can just imagine a kid saying that, and it's just, I think that's really cool. What else? Do you get anything else from?
I mean, Vernon's still Vernon. He's not letting Hedwig out to hunt, so she hasn't been out all vacation. She's just eating table scraps, I think, and then it gets worse for her. But
I think in this chapter also, as far as the full cast audio, this is when I noticed, I think they're toning down the background noise.
yes,
You know, it's not to say that it's not, it doesn't put you in the mind of where they are in the book or whatever. But I think the first one was very distracting, and we discussed that.
Almost over.
And it's almost like they toned it down. And I would have at least thought that it would take a couple books before they did that. But it seems like they toned down the background noise, and I'm looking forward to see that going overhead. So this chapter ends with him sitting in a swing, and seeing who we learn to be Dobby's eyes. Once he's done, he threatens Dudley, and once he's done cleaning, he goes up to his bedroom and he sees somebody sitting on his bed. So then we'll go to chapter 2. This one's called Dobby's Warning. So this is where we are introduced. I think this book introduces 4 of the best and most wasted characters in the movies. And that being Dobby. Not to say he wasn't in there, not to say he wasn't great, but he has so many parts in Goblet of Fire, has so many parts in Order of the Phoenix. Gilderoy Lockhart, again, Order of the Phoenix has a really
and he
great.
comes back in,
Yeah, that's such a great thing, and that would have had. They would have been able to delve a little bit more into Neville if they would have done that.
yes, where
done the Saint
his
Mungo
parents
scene
are there. Yeah,
but Gilderoy Lockhart, I think, is such a great character, and let me tell you, Kit Harington,
oh, he's killing.
absolutely,
Yeah, he was so
amazing.
good.
So much so that he's trying really hard to get into the show. I hope that they give him Lockhart. Now, Lockhart's supposed to be blonde or strawberry blonde. I think Kenneth Branagh did a great job in the movie.
Yeah, he did. He did do a good job.
But I think he could pull off Lockhart, or if they grizzled him a little bit, I think he could possibly pull off Sirius.
I think he could be. Yeah,
Because Sirius is supposed to be a very good-looking, very handsome guy. He's, of course, the first time he's seen by Harry, he looks emaciated.
they'd have to put some makeup on him, but he'd be a good Snape too. He's already played the dark and brooding character.
They need an ugly Snape.
Yeah,
It's
you
not
do.
gonna happen.
They'd have to hook his nose and
So Dobby comes in, and Dobby basically starts telling Harry that he
can't go back to.
can't go back to Hogwarts because it's too dangerous. So, first introduction to Dobby, what'd you think?
Oh, I hated him. That was the. I think Rowling did a really good job writing him in a way where you're like, why is he doing this to Harry?
Yeah,
I don't know. You can tell that he's conflicted, right? I mean, you learn a lot about house elves and the way they're treated in that, in Dobby's Warning, the chapter, where he's beating his head against the lamp and the wall and everything else. But you sit and think, like, why is he allowing Harry to get in trouble this way? And then later you figure out, well, Dobby's life's way worse than Harry's even,
which is strange.
Crazy. Yeah, just crazy to think about.
Which is quite hard because Harry's life is miserable.
And Harry's thinking, I'll die if I don't go back to Hogwarts, and Dobby's, no, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, you're not beaten. I like how he's like, I feel so bad for what I'm doing. I'm going to punish myself without my masters knowing. I have to close you don't know who the masters are just yet.
Close his ears in the oven. Yeah, in the oven like doors.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. Now, the illustration in this book, and again, I'll try to bring up, Dobby is much uglier than he was in the movie. He was quite cute in the movie, I think. And that's something else that in the movie and kind of in the book, if you really start to get into the book, which when I read this one out loud to Priscilla, again, we were reading it when we were going to doctor's visits when she was pregnant. And so there was, quite a bit of a gap each time. Mm-hmm. And I almost forgot about Dobby even being in this book, because once he goes away in this chapter, he doesn't come back until
the hospital.
Harry goes to the hospital. Harvey Potter. My son's name's Harvey. Anyway, so Dobby tells him not to return. In telling him not to return, he basically let leak. Well, he says, friends who haven't even written you this year. Mm-hmm. And Harry kind of puts two and two together and says, how do you know that? And Dobby says, well, you can't be mad at Dobby.
He's been stealing his letters.
And has been stealing his letters, which Harry then gets. This one ends, so Dobby's making all this noise, banging his head on stuff, and of course Uncle Vernon keeps coming up. And
the Masons hear it,
this is while the Masons are doing it. So Uncle Vernon comes up and is like, hey, be quiet. And I think Dobby sees his opportunity to get Harry in a lot of trouble to where he can't go back to Hogwarts, not only through doing magic, which we'll discuss here in just a second, but also getting him in trouble with the Dursleys. So something else that's interesting, we know basically that Dobby, at this point, if you've not read the books, but we know basically that Dobby is with bad wizards. His owners or his masters are bad people. And we talked about, I think briefly in the last episode, about how good Harry turned out, even though he was with the Dursleys. Dobby, same thing. Dobby was probably born into their house and knows enough about morality and to know good people. And he's heard tale of Harry Potter, probably not in the best light, because he's probably heard from the Malfoys in a very Harry Potter is a blowhard, and his fame's for nothing basically.
He's made some decisions on his own too. Like when he's asked about Dumbledore,
right?
Dobby tells him he's the best headmaster that Hogwarts has ever had.
Yeah,
and he talks about hearing of Harry Potter's greatness, but not hearing of his kindness. And
right. Well, that same the Dumbledore thing. So again, he probably heard from. And I would imagine he's treated so poorly that he thinks anybody that the Malfoys, which turns out to be his owners or master, he pretty much assumes that they're good people. And so I wonder how much he is in communication with other magical creatures. So Dobby decides to, I think this picture is quite funny because it shows his butt as he's running down the stairs. Dobby decides to run downstairs, and he
breaks a plum pudding.
Yeah, and if I've learned anything about the English from these books, they love their pudding.
They really do.
Pudding is mentioned.
it's more
pudding cake. Is mentioned as much as magic in these books, I think. And so Aunt Petunia's pudding was on top of the refrigerator, and Dobby ends up doing a hover charm and dropping it on Mrs. Mason's head. And that isn't the...
No, he drops it in the kitchen and it gets all over Harry.
Oh, that's right.
The owl lands on Mrs. Mason's head.
Yes, that's right. In the movie, I think it lands on Mrs. Mason's head. Yeah. You are correct. Yeah, so that doesn't even scare the Masons away. Vernon's just like, it's my nephew. He's very disturbed, Yeah. But then the owl coming in to give him the letter from the... Ministry of Magic is what chases them away because Mrs. Mason is deathly afraid of birds.
Right.
Mr. Mason's like, you all knew about this. This is a sick joke.
Some sort of joke, yeah.
So he gets his first letter from Callback, Mafalda Hopkirk, who is actually who Hermione ends up taking her identity through Polyjuice Potion in the 7th book. So I think that's kind of a neat little callback. So basically saying that if he does magic again, he's going to be expelled. So the Dursleys now learn that he can't use magic outside of school, or he will get in a lot of trouble. So that is where we end chapter 2, him basically being locked in his room through a padlock. Uncle Vernon even has bars put on his window.
Yeah.
So then we end the chapter finally with him seeing Ron Weasley outside of his window one night after basically being starved.
And Hedwig had to eat the veggies from the bottom of a cold vegetable soup or something.
So we introduce chapter 3, and outside of his window he discovers is Ron and Fred and George, who are some of my favorite characters.
I love Fred and George, yeah.
So in the book, it describes Fred and George as being short and stocky instead of tall and lanky.
Right, and Ron is the tall,
Ron's
lanky one.
tall and lanky. Charlie's short and stocky. Bill's long and lanky.
Right.
But I don't think they could have cast Fred and George.
They were
better
so
than
good.
They did in
Yeah,
the
they
movies.
were really,
and it
really
seemed
good.
like I've seen a lot of stuff, interviews and stuff like that with them, and they even have I hate baking shows, but my wife loves them. They even have a baking show on HBO where it's like wizard.
Yeah, I haven't watched that one.
And it seems like that's just their personality. They're kind of mischievous. And I just think they cast that perfectly. All right, so this one is called Chapter 3, The Burrow. So go ahead and tell us what you thought of this.
This, I think, is the biggest tragedy of a scene that they didn't put into a movie is the denoming of the Weasley's garden. I think that would be such a fun scene. Just learning which gnomes in the wizarding world are very different than fantasy gnomes or anything like that. They look like tuber
potatoes.
Yeah, they look like tuber vegetables or root vegetables. But I think that could be a really fun, especially Harry learning to chuck them like what they do. He doesn't really want to, and then it bites him on the finger or something like that, and so he chucks it really far. And then them, of course, they go through all that work of denoming the garden, and then Harry inside later's looking out the window and watches them come right back to the garden. It would just be such a fun... I think
Fred says that Mr. Weasley, Arthur Weasley, thinks they're funny, so he's a lot easier on them than Mrs. Weasley is, and that's why they keep coming back.
And that's where you first hear about Gilderoy Lockhart too. Is Molly's quite.
So we are more introduced here to the full Weasley clan, except for Charlie and Bill. We get a little bit more time with Molly and with Arthur here coming up as well.
Yeah, Molly's in my top 5.
Molly is such a great character, and again, I think they cast her really well. But a lot of things that I love about Molly is she knows what little she knows about Harry as far as being abused and stuff like that. It's almost like she compensates with kindness.
They're the anti-Dursleys,
right? They're the anti-Dursleys and the anti-Malfoys.
Yes,
they're kind of they're a warm family except for Percy.
Percy.
And
he's in my bottom 5.
Right. We'll discuss a little bit more about Percy when we get to the 5th, especially. Oh my gosh. But when they initially come in, they see Molly in the yard. They were expecting to climb upstairs and wait for her to call them home or down for breakfast, and they see her in the garden, and she basically starts immediately yelling at Fred, George, and Ron, and just
about taking the car.
An immediate shift to, hey Harry. I just think that's such a cool thing that she understands his situation so much, and he needs a matron,
and that she was listening to her kids even though she was mad at him when they mentioned that he was being starved. First thing Molly does is make a big meal for Harry.
I think she even mentions that her and Arthur were going to come and get him if they didn't hear back from him. Because as it turns out, everybody had written to Harry but Dobby was stealing all of his letters. We're also introduced to another favorite, being Arthur.
Arthur's great.
I think Arthur is just a fantastic character and a fantastic father. He's one that I think husbands understand Arthur, because there's like when they sit down initially, your sons were flying the car.
He flew the car?
How did it do? And he immediately wants to be. He reminds me of our dad.
Right? Absolutely.
And then he starts, scolding them after he realizes that he's about to be scolded by Mrs. Weasley.
That's another one. The movie, I think they were cast a little old. I think
sure.
all of the professors,
pretty much every adult in the movie was cast older.
But Arthur was so good in the movies too.
I agree.
He was just
I love
really
that
great.
guy.
Likable, super likable,
warm and loving. And we'll talk a little bit about which we discussed in the last episode, but we'll talk a little bit about once we get to Diagon Alley about some changes they made in the movie. I'm trying to think of some other changes they may have made at this point. Anyway, I forgot my 4 characters that I think they wasted. Yeah. Dobby, Gilderoy Lockhart, Lucius Malfoy, I think was...
Yes.
Not to say he wasn't great, but there are so many...
Perfect casting.
But my 4th one is Ginny. They wasted Ginny in the movies.
Yeah, they really waited too long to introduce her.
She's supposed to be almost like this perfect balance between, I guess you could say, Ron, but more Bill and the twins.
Yeah.
She's very intelligent. She's very cool. They describe Bill, like, for lack of a better term, he was cool, whatever.
Mm-hmm. And naturally talented.
Right. And Ginny is that, but she's also got that really, really mischievous side. Mm-hmm. And she's not a rule follower like Hermione. And so that's why they kind of wasted her, in my opinion. But we see a little bit of Ginny here, and Ginny is still locked in that she's in love with Harry, and just can't even do anything when she's around him. So the gnomes, I think, is a really, really fun part. It mentions Scabbers, of course.
Scabbers,
which I forgot until I just did. I was listening to. I'm listening to Half-Blood Prince right now. And I'm reading Order of the Phoenix right now to Priscilla, and we just got to the part where Ron got prefect, and Mrs. Weasley basically, whatever you want, you can have. You may not want an owl, but she says, or we could get you a rat. You always like Scabbers. It's like you gotta kind of remember what. Scabbers turned into. But so the Weasley's house, Harry described it basically as it shouldn't look like it's standing.
Right.
He said it looks like it's held up by magic, and it probably is his wording. And at the end of the chapter, when they finally get upstairs to Ron's
one of the best lines in the book, actually,
Harry says, Ron says it's a bit small. Not like that room you had at the Muggles, and I'm right underneath the ghoul in the attic. He's always banging on the pipes and groaning. And it says, but Harry, grinning widely, said, this is the best house I've ever been in. And Ron's ears went pink. So Harry not only loves the magical world and things that he's not familiar with, but absolutely loves this family and sees how much they love each other, and already feels so much affection from Molly and Arthur. So we go to chapter 4, and this is where it's called At Flourish and Blots. This is where they go to Diagon Alley. Starts out, and Harry has never traveled by Floo powder before, and that is how they are getting to the alley. So I think something that the movies did well with Harry, but I don't think they did well with Hermione, was Harry knows nothing of the magical world until he's introduced to it.
Right.
So they hadn't traveled by Floo powder in the first one. They hadn't used the port key. They haven't, and so he didn't know anything about it. Sometimes in the movies, it felt like, and we'll talk about that with a chapter later on with Mudblood, with Hermione, which
so much
in
better
the
book.
movie,
Yeah.
in the movie, she's like, she didn't even know what it meant.
They wasted a lot of Hermione. Hermione's new to the wizarding world too.
Right, that's
she
what
knows
I'm
more
saying.
about it than Harry because
she
read all the
reads,
books.
yeah.
But things like Mudblood, that would be a
derogatory.
That's not in any book, right? So
Right.
when she gets, but that's
So
one of my qualms with the movie.
He tries to travel by Floo powder, and instead of saying clearly Diagon Alley, he kind of stumbles over the word and ends up in Nocturne Alley, which he doesn't know yet. So he ends up in. Well, first off, let's go back. They get their book list, and they see that only one of their books is not written by Gilderoy Lockhart, and the rest of it is. They basically have to buy all of the books he's ever published, which are...
And the other one's written by the historian in...
Miranda Goshawk.
Oh, no. I'm thinking
not yet.
The wrong book.
History of Magic is...
So that might have been in the first book.
Maybe. So the Weasleys are a poor family, which we can relate to. We grew up in a non-broken household in the sense that our parents were still together and very loving. Maybe didn't make the best financial decisions, and I think that's what the Weasleys are. We had more kids. We were broke, not broken. Yeah. I think that's the Jason Isbell line. I was broke and she was unbroken. Great line. Anyway, and so they're trying to figure out how they're going to be able to pay for all of the Gilderoy Lockhart books. And so they decide to take a trip, of course, to Diagon Alley to go to Flourish and Blotts, which is the bookstore. And they are going to be traveling by Floo powder. Again, Harry stumbles over his words and ends up in a scary-looking shop and starts kind of looking around. And this is the interesting thing about this book. There's more callbacks to this chapter of this book.
Yeah,
later on, the necklace, which I didn't catch on the first two read-throughs of this book, but the necklace that Katie Bell ends up,
the cabinet,
everything.
The lantern, is the lantern separate from the hand?
I think
the candle,
the candle in the hand.
That's right, and only the user can see.
Which we'll discuss once we get to the sixth book. But I just thought that was interesting. I really paid attention on this past listen on the full cast audio.
Well, she planted seeds, man.
Oh yeah,
Rowling planted.
She did good,
and she does.
Which in the full cast audio, the guy that did Mr. Borgin and Borgin and Burks, he did a terrible job. I thought Lucius Malfoy was very good. He's very cold.
Yeah, he does well.
He's not overdoing like the evil Saturday morning cartoon bad guy.
Dracoing it in the first full cast book.
But he's very cold, even towards Draco, which is great. And he's very collected. He's like a businessman, like a shark. So he's hiding in the cabinet, and he overhears the discussion from the Malfoys.
Selling, trying to sell off some stuff because the ministry's searching estates for cursed objects. Which this is, Diagon Alley is the D&D street. That's where you want to go when you're playing D&D, is like the cursed objects, but Magic Shop, or Nocturne Alley. That's where you want to be playing that game, and in the wizarding world, you want to be in
This is an interesting callback between you and I. Long before we were even into Harry Potter, I think maybe after the first or maybe second movie came out, I didn't connect that Diagon Alley was diagonally until you told me.
And Nocturnally.
I should have known that. Felt like a fool.
Well, it makes me think that Nocturne Alley was there first, because Diagon Alley has to be diagonally from something.
Right. Could be.
I think Nocturne's the older street.
Could be.
Little Evan lore.
There you go.
For Harry Potter.
Unfounded information.
Not canon at all.
So Harry is listening to them, and they even end up discussing Arthur and how much he despises Arthur. Basically calls him a muggle lover. Which
and talks about Dumbledore too, doesn't he?
I believe so. He talks about how
he's running the school into the ground,
and letting mudbloods and whatnot into the shop and into the school. Finally, Draco and his father leave after discussing that Borgin will come by and get the stuff from the Malfoy's house that he's going to be selling him. And
Borgin can't stand him either.
Borgin is scared of him and can't stand him. And they leave, and Harry ends up going out into the street. And I think this was done pretty well in the movie as well. So he's approached by a couple people and a witch, who you must be lost, kind of like I always think about the part in, which same director, I always think about the part in Home Alone when the hooker.
Oh, yeah.
You want me to read you a bedtime story?
Yeah.
It's just like everything is terrifying. And what I love about this next part is you get to see how it doesn't matter if you're a good witch, a bad witch, you are scared of Hagrid.
Yeah.
Because Hagrid's like Harry, and then it's like everything parts.
Which you don't really get to see why till what, 5? Is it Order of the Phoenix?
Order of the Phoenix when he's attacked by all the Aurors.
The Aurors, yeah.
So Hagrid gets him, and they end up going back to Diagon Alley and going to Flourish and Blotts, which is the bookstore. And it's more crowded than it usually is as they go in, and they realize that
there's
I'm not sure if it's in this one. Yep, it is. So Gilderoy Lockhart is actually signing a copy of his new book, Magical Me. So they go in, and you're introduced to Gilderoy Lockhart being a total pompous, arrogant, just as narcissistic as you can possibly be. And again, I think it was played well by Kenneth Branagh. I love Kenneth Branagh. So good. And just his voice, everything sounds like a
with my new book, Magical Me. And
anybody who talks through their teeth like that, you can just tell, just want to be slapped. But what a fun character to play.
Oh yeah. And Branagh's great in everything.
Yeah, so. I agree. But Kit Harington, again, I was just so impressed with him because I watched Game of Thrones. Not that I'm a huge fan at all, but I watched Game of Thrones and could just be the part, but he didn't have to do anything extraordinary in that. And I just think he did really well. So this is also where you don't realize it, but something very important happens. So this is where the Lucius Malfoy ends up coming in, and Arthur and Lucius end up having some words. And then in the movie, it ends there. Yeah. In the book, however.
Yeah, I've come around to your way of thinking on this one, actually.
Arthur's like, nope, you ain't insulting my family. Whatcha? And starts fighting Lucius. So, yes, this is one of the few things that I enjoy more about the movies than I do the books. I think it was better that Arthur kind of turned the other cheek. I think he would have done that. He didn't. She wrote it. That's how he did it.
Arthur shows a lot of restraint later in the book.
Yeah, I like that. But again, where he doesn't show restraint with the Dursleys
is with kids.
Is his kids. Yeah. His kids, and he considers Harry to be one of them. So they end up getting into a fight, and
they both get some licks in too. It sounds like one of them's lips split, and the other one's, I think, nose is bleeding.
And I think it's Hagrid, and I just imagine him literally picking up and separating them. Molly is furious because they did it in front of Gilderoy Lockhart, who she admires and thinks is the greatest. And we learned that
George says she fancies him.
She fancies him, and Hermione as well. And he ends up so Gilderoy calls up Harry before the fight happens and
gets a picture with him for the paper.
Right. And
says that you're going to get me on the front page, or us together will be on the front page.
And ends up gifting all of the books to Harry. And as Harry gets off...
He gives them to Ginny.
as Harry gets away from Gilderoy Lockhart, he ends up putting him in Ginny's cauldron and says, "I'll buy my own."
And Harry, that's one thing that I think it's this chapter. Harry's embarrassed by his wealth,
he's embarrassed by his wealth and his fame,
Weasleys.
but around the Weasleys, he is embarrassed by his wealth.
Yeah,
and he says, I think in this chapter, because I think they end up going to Gringotts before they go to Flourish and Blotts. He says he didn't want them to see his vault being open because of how much he had,
well,
and he said, "I would happily share or give all of it, but they wouldn't take it."
I think 100% he would. And Molly had taken the last of what they had in savings to buy these books, and I think we've all been there, especially buying college textbooks.
All right,
painful.
So they end up going back to what's the Leaky Cauldron, and they're going back to
Hogwarts,
the Burrow. So we go to chapter 5, which is the Whomping Willow, and this chapter is where they attempt to get to Hogwarts via the platform 9 3/4. So they get there. I love this part also when they're getting into the car.
And it's bigger than it should be on the inside.
Mr. Weasley has put some charms on it and extended it and made it a lot more of a comfortable ride. And Mrs. Weasley is completely oblivious to, these muggles really know how to, I just think that's so funny. I also love, and it's a throwaway part, didn't have to be in the movies, didn't necessarily have to be in the books, but again, coming from a large family, it just made me laugh so hard. How many times they try to leave the Burrow in the car and keep having to go back and get something from for somebody. I thought that was just, I found that to be very funny. So they get to King's Cross and are about to go through and since it's Ginny's first time going, Molly ends up going through with her 9 3/4 barrier, and as Ron and Harry try to get through, it is blocked. And reading this as a grown-up, I'm thinking to myself, wait there for just a couple minutes. Molly and Arthur will take care of you.
Yeah.
But I remember
absolutely
being a kid and being like, we'll never see them again. What do we do?
You remember when we used to sneak into the grocery store? Like they'd leave us in the car and they're like,
do you remember how often we used to steal their cars at night and go driving?
Oh, gosh. Yeah. It's true.
And the night I almost hit a cow in the Daytona. Anyway, so they end up going back out to the car, which can fly and can turn invisible. And Harry and Ron end up flying towards Hogwarts.
And it's such a kid's idea, too. Like McGonagall here in a little bit's gonna say, "Why didn't you just write a letter to Hogwarts?" And we would have come.
You do have owls, don't you? No. She says.
I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, that's funny. So, Harry and Ron end up flying. I love this part too. So it starts out and they're just having the time of their lives. They're eating all this junk food. They're driving. They think it's the funniest thing in the world. And then after a while, it's hot. They're thirsty. They're not having fun anymore. So they just keep dipping down, trying to see the Hogwarts Express and follow it to Hogwarts. And as they're descending, the car starts to slightly malfunction, and they kind of lose control and end up flying into the Whomping Willow, which is a fun little plant that Rowling included and has significant...
and another seed for a later book with Remus.
Correct, yeah.
As to why it's on the ground.
And so the Whomping Willow begins to beat the living crap out of the Ford Anglia, which I think it is, and ends up in this little scuffle, which adds to some funny and important things later. Ron's wand.
That was a good addition.
Breaks. So they make it to Hogwarts, just in a crazy way. And I think...
And insult Snape when he's right behind them, too.
Yeah, they're trying to get into the hall.
Get left because everyone hates him or something like that. Or maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good little part too.
And are they taken to Snape's office?
It's in Snape's office.
I want to say it is. I'd have to look.
I think it is. Yeah, they go to the dungeons. Yeah. It's Snape's office. Later, they're in Lockhart's office. The next time that there's a problem.
So it shows. He says, which I don't know how I feel about this because I don't think enough time had passed. But I think he shows newspaper articles, right, about Muggles. But it's actual real Muggle newspapers. I think that he gives. I don't know that there would.
No, I thought it was the.
Is it the Daily Prophet?
It's the Daily Prophet because that's when you're like, oh, they get newspapers instantly.
Yeah,
instead
they probably
having to go to print
up
or whatever.
Here. So basically, McGonagall comes down, Dumbledore comes down, and they start discussing. Thinking they're going to get expelled. Yeah. Of course, if it was up to Snape, he says that he would. Of course, he probably wouldn't have. After we learn what we learned about Snape,
well, even Dumbledore lies.
This is one of
if it happens again.
Well, this is one of the few times that Dumbledore, in front of Harry and Ron, kind of gives Snape
down the road.
I'm the one with the power. Usually, he kind of sides more with Snape, at least in front of Harry.
I think it's the first time he's not goofy too.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of.
Harry gets it. It hurts him more that Dumbledore just says, "Why have you done this?" That's just his first question.
And I love the quick thinking that Harry does when McGonagall starts to say something, and he thinks that she's about to take points from Gryffindor, and he's like, "Hey, it hasn't started yet." So I did kind of love how quick Harry was.
Snape suggests that he not be able to play Quidditch too.
Right. Yeah.
Snape's always looking for.
McGonagall's. So then they end up going to. They miss the sorting ceremony with Ginny being sorted into.
He only makes it to what? 2 full sorting ceremonies throughout all 7 books.
I think so. And they basically become instant legends. They the kind of fame that only the Weasley brothers up to this point have because of the mischievous things. Everybody's like, you arrived in a flying car and hit the Whomping Willow. That is absolutely incredible. So basically, that's where the chapter ends. They are starting school, and everybody thinks that is so cool how they arrived. So chapter 6, we're going to Gilderoy Lockhart.
Truly one of the best characters she wrote.
I think so too.
He's so self-absorbed.
I think she's a very. We've discussed this as well, but there are a lot of writers that every character they write kind of sounds like them, kind of has the same attitude, same wit. Yeah. I think she does such a great job on character creation.
That's the downfall of a lot of movies too. Everyone in the movie's quippy.
Yeah, right.
So the one that's supposed to be quippy doesn't really shine through.
Yeah. So this is...
We're saying that Rowling didn't do that.
Yes. I think she did a very good job. She wrote
very distinct characters,
First thing, basically, that happens in this one is they get a letter. First important thing that happens in this one, they get a letter from Errol. A red letter, a howler. Which we're introduced to in this. Something that again, it's one of those things that, you're not around Neville all the time, but Neville's like, I got one from my gran. It's like, you'd think they would have mentioned that, but at some point, but that's just a good way of kind of introducing this. So basically a howler is, if you don't open it, it explodes open, and it's an amplified voice.
Molly's mama voice.
And I like to think that a howler, to me, only because I don't think Molly would intentionally call attention, I think a howler is basically created in my head when you're writing a letter and your rage comes out
in so emotionally charged.
I don't think Molly would go out of her way to embarrass Ron or to, she was just so mad that basically when she tried
the letter
to mail
can't hold it in.
Right. I think I kind of like that thought.
I like it.
When it comes to witches and wizards, I think that would be kind of cool. So we are then going to
his first lesson,
couple different lessons, and then we end up in the first lesson with first we're introduced in Professor Sprout's class to mandrakes.
That's a good part
to this book, because mandrakes, when boiled into I think they say it a stew or potion, can revive a lot of things, petrified people, and a lot of it's very medicinal when it comes to things with spell damage, basically, for lack of a better term. So we are introduced to that. So just the first couple lessons, I think we go to McGonagall. I think we end up going to Snape's.
In Gilderoy, he's there with Professor Sprout, teaching her how to best tend to a Whomping Willow.
Yeah. He thinks he knows everything and tells everybody, which we will discuss why he thinks that later on. But yeah, he as they're going to class, and Professor Sprout clearly doesn't want to hear anything from him. So we get into Gilderoy Lockhart's class, and Hermione is smitten with him and thinks that he is 100% telling the truth about everything. And Ron and Harry pretty much from the start see through his BS. Yeah, that's right. We just said part of the name of the podcast in the description. You're welcome, everybody.
Through the brothers BS.
And so we are, let's see, I think there might be, if I'm looking at this correctly, is this where we learn that Malfoy is on the team, or is that later on? Maybe that's later on.
I think that's in the next chapter, probably.
So Gilderoy Lockhart, he goes in there basically. Doesn't he have the first quiz? Is basically just stuff about
information from his book.
What's his birthday? What's his biggest ambition? What's his favorite color? And just very self-absorbed things. And Seamus even makes some jokes because he just is kind of a fool, and everybody sees that, except for Hermione. But Hermione gets full marks on the quiz, and then he starts his first lesson, and he brings out what are called Cornish pixies, and turns out they're not super dangerous, other than the fact that they are very mischievous and cause a lot of damage.
One of them takes Gilderoy's wand.
Right. As soon as he lets them out, he basically tells everybody, then deal with them. And then after they don't really know how to deal with him, he starts to try to do a spell, and a pixie ends up taking his wand, and he just kind of, hey, will you three take care of it? Just backs out.
Why don't you finish cleaning this up while
telling Ron, Hermione, and Harry to take care of it. So Hermione does a freezing spell and takes care of him. And Hermione still doesn't think that he's a joke, simply just thinks he was trying to give them some real world experience. So we are now on chapter 7, Mudbloods and Murmurs. And this is what I mentioned before with which you talked about in the last episode, but they gave so much to Hermione that Ron had. They kind of made Ron a fool and comedic relief instead of having any kind of knowledge, which there's certainly some funny things that he does and some stupid decisions that he makes. But Hermione is also not of the magical world. And you gave a really good example or explanation as to why she wouldn't know what a mudblood was, because they wouldn't put that in a textbook. At least any textbook that she would have read, maybe something in the forbidden section or the dark arts or something like that, kind of where you would find Horcruxes or something maybe. But a mudblood is basically anybody who is born to Muggle parents. I almost said English parents. Oh, that's not right.
Which I guess that translates to half-blood too.
Why do you say that?
Because they're big on just pure blood. So I wonder with the Half-Bloods if they were calling them Mudbloods too.
I don't think so, only because which we find out in this book that Voldemort is a half-blood, and they talk about later on. Harry mentions something about Voldemort being a half-blood, and somebody says, and I can't remember if it's Sirius or Arthur, says that of course they're half-blood. If we only married purebloods, we would have died out a long time ago.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, where we do learn that. First off, Oliver, who I think is a fun.
Yeah, he's good.
Oliver Wood is a fun character. I think they kind of wasted him as well because he would have just been a lot of fun. Just he only cares about Quidditch.
Quidditch is all he thinks about
until the 7th book, which he comes back and fights at the Battle of Hogwarts. But I think that could have added a fun little thing if they were going to do a little bit more with Quidditch in the movies or the show when it comes out. But we learned that Malfoy
bought his way onto the team with some Nimbus 2001s.
Nimbus 2001s. His dad bought for the whole team. And so he is now the new Seeker for them. And this is where they get into a little bit of a scuffle. And is this where Ron tries to hex him?
Yeah, this is the slug. Yeah, this is the slug chapter.
Which is funny because earlier in the book he says, "Eat slugs, Malfoy." And it turns out this is the punishment for him trying to hex with a broken wand. So Hermione interferes with their verbal battle that they're having, and Malfoy calls her Mudblood.
Which is what prompts Ron to try to hex.
Which he naturally put a little stank on, and so she knew it was a bad thing. She just didn't necessarily know what it meant. And so Ron tries to hex Malfoy and ends up vomiting slugs for the remainder of his life. No, for the remainder of the day, I believe.
All the way past midnight.
Yeah.
Because he keeps puking them on the Quidditch cup.
Yeah, they're about to do their detention that they got for running into the Whomping Willow. Yeah. So they go down to Hagrid's house, and trying to get him to know something about the slugs or get him to stop throwing up slugs. And Hagrid basically tells him,
you just got to pass it out. Yeah,
it's like any other sickness. Just do it until you don't anymore. And they tell him the story about what Malfoy says, and Hermione basically says, Hermione basically says, I don't know what it meant. I could tell it was bad. And Ron tells her that it's basically says, which of course, dirty blood, meaning that she was born of muggles instead of wizards. And we're kind of introduced to that prejudice that goes throughout the entire series. Well up into the 7th book with the most evil character, in my opinion, Dolores Umbridge.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait till we get to her.
Do you know who's playing her in the audiobook?
Keira Knightley.
Knightley.
She'll do fantastic.
She will, but she doesn't look like Dolores Umbridge, if you ask me.
She does not.
So they go to do their detention. Is that in this book? All right, in this chapter?
Yes. He has to help Harry or
Gilderoy Lockhart
answer
fan letters, and this is where we first hear the whispering.
Yes, in the walls
He doesn't. So we're trying to figure out.
It says that it's from the wall, right?
Yeah, he tries to chase it down, basically. And
when does Filch's cat? When does Mrs. Norris? Is that in this chapter?
It's not in this chapter. No, it's at Death Day Party. It's on Halloween.
No, it is. It's She's found it's toward the end of the chapter where Filch accuses Harry of petrifying Mrs. Norris.
I didn't think it was.
Because he leaves didn't he leave Gilderoy's?
He just searches.
I
think he just searches after it because I don't think it's until October 31st or Halloween is basically when, if you'll pay attention to the books, that's basically when everything kicks off bad. And I don't know if that's discussed by anybody or anything, but I have noticed that that's kind of the theme for a lot of the books that starting on Halloween, it seems that they are.
Mm-hmm.
So he hears for the first time the whispering voice, but he does not yet find the cat. He just hears that the voice is looking for somebody to harm.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know what it is. Could be
the next chapter.
Right.
That's
It could be a ghost. It could be which they discuss. So chapter 8 is the Death Day party, which I think is another thing. I think the ghosts.
The movie, this part would have been so fun.
Yeah, the ghosts were wasted in the movies too, but
Yes.
I don't think they realized how important they were.
Well, and I didn't have a problem with, was it John Cleese that played Nearly Headless Nick? I didn't have a problem with him being, I mean, he gave us Monty Python.
Having John Cleese, they should have used him
been
more,
a semi-serious
because he could have been such a
moments.
great character.
Which he's carefree about life because he's dead. But
Right.
But he also he likes Harry. They have a lot of really good conversations throughout the books.
So I think this is I love how, and this carries on through the entire series. Pretty much every time they have a conversation with Nick, Ron always says something that he finds to be extremely offensive.
Yeah.
But you also learn how he became nearly headless. He was struck with a blunt axe.
A bunch of times. How many times was it?
Hit 45 times in the neck with a blunt axe. And so he ends up, he's writing a letter to try to join the headless hunt, but they won't let him in because he's not completely headless. He's got like 1 inch of skin that remains.
They take over his Death Day party.
And he ends up having the Death Day party. He ends up talking to Harry about coming to his Death Day party the day he died, which is October 31st. And they're kind of bummed because they're going to miss the Halloween feast, which apparently is really good. So as they are leaving, talking to Nearly Headless Nick, Filch comes and gets Harry Potter. Basically, he's just like wandering the halls, and it's after a Quidditch thing, and Filch thinks he's committing some crime because Filch hates kids. And as he's doing it, Peeves, as he goes into his office, Peeves ends up making some kind of a ruckus, and Filch goes and chases him. And Harry, being a curious kid, looks on Filch's desk and finds that he is what is known as a squib. He doesn't know that term yet, but when Filch comes back in, he didn't put the letter back in the right place, and Filch sees that he saw it. And he's very embarrassed, and he basically just lets Harry go because he's so scared that he'll tell anybody. So that kind of introduces what he thinks as a motive for what happens later on, which I didn't catch until the second read through also. And they are invited, of course, Hermione, Ron, and Harry to Nearly Headless Nick's Death Day party. When they go in, they have a bunch of rotten food as the display.
Yeah.
And I think that was a fun little thing with the ghosts that they want to taste. They want to. It's not an enjoyable life. It's kind of like in Pirates of the Caribbean when they wanted to eat the food and they couldn't taste. And so what they do is they let food rot tremendously,
so that
and
they
then
can
try to pass through and try to get it. During that time, the headless hunt comes in and basically bashes the party, crashes the party is a better term, I suppose.
Starts playing polo with their heads.
And Hermione, Ron, and Harry leave the party, and that is when...
Wait, that's when we meet Moaning Myrtle.
That is when we meet Moaning Myrtle. Yeah. And Hermione's the only one that knows about it and is telling Harry and Ron, and Peeves calls her over, and of course...
ruins her day.
Tells them. So she goes off crying. And lots of fun stuff that happens at the party, but nothing super important other than that. And then they are walking back to Gryffindor Tower, and they hear, or Harry hears the voice again. And this time it's talking about eating and killing someone. And so they chase it down and end up finding a puddle of water, and Mrs. Norris, who is Filch's cat, hanging
from a sconce,
which I don't know how she got there. The basilisk wouldn't
it would
have
been
done
Ginny.
It was Ginny. Oh, I didn't think about that.
Been
That's
Ginny.
stupid. Okay. So they find, and it says the Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies to the heir, beware.
Mm-hmm.
And Filch, of course, thinks that it is Harry, and it is.
That's when they
then
go
spread
to
around.
Lockhart's office with Dumbledore.
Correct.
Yeah.
But that's not until this next chapter. Right. So they do discover, and the last thing of this chapter, the entire student body basically gathers around. Filch sees that his cat's been harmed, and Malfoy sees what's written on the wall, and he says, "Enemies of the heir, beware," reading off the wall, and then he says, "You'll be next, mudbloods." So that then, at least in Harry, Hermione, and Ron's eyes, says that he is the heir of Slytherin.
He did it.
So, all right, guys, that puts us on chapter 9, and that is where we're probably going to end this episode. This is going to be a two-parter, which probably
I thought this one would be really short.
I know.
I'm worried about the Hallows.
There's so much. Well, that and Order of the Phoenix. I think Order of the Phoenix is actually the longest.
Yeah.
Hallows, Deathly Hallows has. I was telling Priscilla that
segmented.
There's so many parts to it. You feel like, oh my gosh, I just read a full book, but it actually doesn't take long. It's very well told, I think. So we are on chapter 9. We may end up moving a little bit faster through it next time and kind of coming with some points, but. You know, we like talking, and that's just a part of what we are. So, next chapter, we just good place to end actually, because we just discovered Mrs. Norris. We just found out that she is petrified. Well, we haven't found out that she's petrified yet.
And then we're almost to the dueling club too.
Yes,
that's when the book really picks up.
Which is a great chapter. I'll have to let you. Take a look at this book and all of the illustrated books. So these are the illustrated versions of the books, and they are absolutely incredible.
The art's beautiful.
And with my 4 or 5 listeners to this podcast, I'm not sure that we can do too much, but if we could pass this around and try to get to Jim Kay, who is the illustrator of the books.
Oh, yeah.
He has recently said that
please do the last.
He's not going to do Half-Blood Prince and Deathly Hallows, that he finished Order of the Phoenix and he has done. But there is a slight outcry of fans, and I am one of those fans. I think he just did such an incredible job. I'm sure it is time-consuming, but my goodness, he did such a fantastic job, and I would love him to finish out the series. There's another set of illustrated books that are coming out right now, and I think they just finished Goblet of Fire. I'm not as crazy about the illustrations in those, but they look. I'm trying to think of what kind of art style it would be. It's a very different art style than what he does. For example, that's an incredible photo right there. But later on, there's this picture of Gilderoy Lockhart. Just that is a fantastic portrait, and it tells so much about his character. I just think it's done very well. So, yeah, if you get a chance, they are on Amazon fairly cheap, and wanted to get the illustrated versions, I do strongly suggest them. That's how I'm reading them to my son and wife right now. And again, we're on Order of the Phoenix, which is going to be the last one, and then we got to go to the boring paperback ones with no pictures.
No pictures in them.
But I do strongly suggest getting those if you can. But this has been a very fun episode for me. Again, I could discuss this. I don't know why I'm so
We talk about it when we're not.
I know. We text back and forth. The other day I asked him a question. I finished Order of the Phoenix, and I asked him a question about a spell that Dumbledore does that they don't explain what it is. And I'm in love with this right now. And I hope that continues. And I told Priscilla, I think it's because we did read it while she was pregnant, and as soon as we had Harvey during paternity leave, I played Hogwarts Legacy, and so I just kind of delved into all the Harry Potter stuff, and I think it's reminding me of Harvey, and so I think that's why I'm so obsessed.
I'm going to segue you into all of my geeky books that I like to talk about.
So a friend of mine who is a big fan of the Harry Potter books, I saw him at the gym, and I told him that I think that she's a better writer than Tolkien. And me and him got into a group chat, and you all berated me for saying such blasphemous things.
It is blasphemy. I like that, but it's blasphemy.
I stand by it. My argument is this: enjoyability.
Oh, but I love the Lord of the Rings.
It's like an assignment when I try to read the Lord of the Rings, which I've tried.
Stephen King books, and
Stephen King though
he says 10 trillion words.
But I don't mind being descriptive.
Oh, that's what Tolkien is. He writes so beautifully. It's fine. We'll talk about it later.
Maybe I'll revisit, and then the next set we do is the Lord of the Rings.
This is the remedial course. We're going to get you.
I'll never be advanced. But I hope you all enjoy this episode. We are going to be making a part 2 very soon, putting it out. Of course, we're going to try to go through all these books. So we'll spend probably 2026 doing this. Wouldn't surprise me, which Happy New Year, by the way. Hope everybody has had a great New Year so far. I hope you got some good plans. I hope you've got some good ambitions for things that you want to get done this year. Mine is being consistent with a podcast. So hopefully you all can be along with me on that ride. But this has been an episode of the Brothers BS, and we hope you all have enjoyed it. Please like and share and subscribe and comment and all that other stuff. Tell us what you think about this book, or what you think about, if you've listened to the full cast audio, where you rank this movie. Some of the characters. We'd love to hear from you all. Anything you'd like us to discuss about the book, any theories or anything like that, we would love to hear from you all. And with that, I am Zach.
I'm Evan.
And we are the Brothers BS.